Hey, this is Ask the Pastor. I ask the internet for questions that I can answer, and they give me questions that I can answer. This is one of them. Is it really a sin to wear, say, jeans and a cotton tank top? This is more of a smart aleck question. LOL. Okay, good question. So, first of all, at a basic level, denim, which is what jeans are made of, is actually made out of 100% cotton. So you'd be good on that front. What is being referred to is there's a rule in Deuteronomy. It shows up at the end of Deuteronomy that says that Moses is giving instructions to the people, and he says a number of things. He says, don't sleep with your stepmother, and don't abuse refugees, and then don't wear fabric that's made of two different kinds of material. So I've got a silk tie and a cotton shirt. I think the problem is blended. It kind of depends on your translation of the Hebrew word, but blended of linen and wool would have been the two different kinds of material that would have been available at the time. So let's talk about that, because like denim and cotton, okay, that's the same kind of material. That's just different shapes of it. But say I wanted to wear a nice polycotton blend, would that be in violation of God's moral instruction to me? Well, the answer is no. The prohibitions that were given at the end of Deuteronomy to the Hebrew people were there at that time for that time. And a question that we always want to ask is, what did that mean at the time? Like, what was that written to accomplish? And there are a bunch of answers to that question besides God just really hates blended fabrics and never wants anyone to wear them ever, right? The first one is mixing linen with wool and interweaving that. It's just a dumb idea. Like, it's just, don't do that. Because it'll shrink unevenly and break, and then you'll waste both. And so, share your linen and wool with the poor if you're going to blend linen and wool, because that's just not something that's going to work. Another kind of reality about that is that other cults in the area who were living with the Israelites were all about mixing things. Like, they were like, oh yeah, we're going to try to marry this linen with this wool, and we're going to try to marry this monkey with this octopus, and we're going to try, and that's how we're going to worship God. And so, or our God, right? And so Yahweh says, don't do that. Don't get caught up in that. That's nonsense, and it doesn't work, and that's not what I want from you. Do the opposite of that, please. And finally, and I think this one's, I should say a third one first before I do the finally. The third one is God wanted God's people to be weird. In fact, God still wants God's people to be weird. To say, I want you to be a peculiar people. You Hebrews, you are a people that are no people, and you're moving into this land, and you're going to have to fight with the people of Jericho, and you're going to have to engage and try to, in order to have a culture and in order to preserve that culture, you are going to need to find ways of existing that differentiate you from the tribes around you. So it's kind of related to that second reason. And so wear clothes that are different from the tribes around you. Don't eat the tribes around you's favorite food, which is going to be pork, because pigs eat everything. Just avoid that. Eat not that. Be different. Eat in a different way, so that you will continue to be people, so that your culture will continue to exist. That's still a concern of the Jewish people to this day, and I think a really valid concern, a concern that they have needed in order to maintain their identity. And then the final one, which I think is just really important whenever we look at the purity laws, is purity. It's symbolic of purity. And so how is it that God's people can be a people who are one thing, who let their yes be yes and their no be no, and who at all times are striving to have a singular focus and have it be like transparent and obvious and uncompromised? How is it that God can have a people that are pure, that aren't muddied, that aren't mixed up? And one way to do that is just to say everything pure, everything white, everything that is consistent. Those are the best things. Those are the things I want for you. Aim for that. And so whenever we're reading a document and it's saying, do this in a pure way, do that in a pure way, do that in a pure way. I mean, a lot of people in that time, they were living through like diseases and plagues, and there was a lot of like practical need for that at that time. But also, like, the practical need is overshadowed by this symbolic reality of like purity is what God wants. Consistency, sticking to one thing and doing it the right way and not being like sneaky about it and double-minded about it. And so at the end of all that, like, if you read all that and you say, okay, so the best way I can live up to those concerns, the best way I can avoid getting caught up in the cults around me, and the best way that I can represent purity with my life, and the best way that I can be differentiated as a Christian is to like avoid a particular outfit, then yeah, avoid that outfit. But if there's another way that that text has meaning for you, and that's probably harder, and that's probably like more challenging and more pure than I'm going to avoid an outfit, then do the harder, more pure, more challenging thing, and forget about the outfit, because we want to follow the text with what the text actually means. And so that means spending some time doing some hard work, like thinking about what these texts mean in their actual like context, not just their historical context, but their like literary context and theological context. And so thank you for asking about it. I do want to refer you to my Is Blank a Sin video. That is over here. And we've got some other videos you might enjoy. If this was a good answer, please share it. If it was a bad answer, and tell me why. And if you've got a question, feel free to ask.